All righty, welcome back to another episode of Two Plane Sports. As you can tell, the two boys are together. Jose and Brandon are hanging out in Phoenix. They're taking this podcast as a team, doing it as a team, and then I'm still in Oklahoma. Brandon's trying to enjoy his last few weeks before he goes off to boot camp. But before we get into it, I just want to say we appreciate it. We hit 4,900 subscribers, and the thing we've been saying, Brandon needs to see 5,000 before he goes off the grid for his boot camp. Coming up. So hit the subscribe button. Half of you do not subscribe that watch us regularly. So help us out. It's free, easy. Turn the notification bell on because you never know. We might go live randomly. We've got a live stream planned for Monday, August 22nd. We're also going to be planning a Zoom call for our members. So be sure you want to support the channel. Also join the monthly membership of $4.99 a month. And if you're listening to us Apple or Spotify, leave us a review, follow the channel. It helps us out a lot on there. And again, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything's at Two Plane Sports, and it's all linked below. So today we're kind of in the dead period, but right before football starts, it's almost here. Just a couple more weeks. We're going to be talking a little bit of some Sooner injury updates. We're going to be talking a little bit of Texas football as well with their injuries and what they're looking like at the quarterback and things like that. We're going to be talking Mike Gundy having a comment for Texas and Oklahoma about their move to the SEC. And then we're going to be talking about PJ Adebawore picking up his 5th star. And we're going to be talking our reaction to the AP top 25 and our own top 10 and where we think they got it right and where they got it wrong. So we'll start first. We don't have to talk too much. It's just really unfortunate. TD Roof, Venables said today that he ended up tearing his biceps, injuring one of his arms, and it looks like it's a season-ending injury. Obviously, I mean, it's not just a few months. He's going to go under surgery. We talked about TD Roof whenever he came in. He didn't project as a day one starter by any means, but I do think he was bringing a lot of leadership and a lot of mentorship for these younger guys. And he did bring some depth and potentially playing on some special teams. So I do think it's a decent sized loss. I mean, obviously it's not the number one linebacker, but it's really unfortunate for him because he hasn't had the easiest go of it throughout his career. And it's unfortunate to see. You guys have any reaction, or you guys just chatting up before you record?
No, we're not talking.
He's trying to.
We're trying to make an end of video challenge here a little bit. I have a pretty good one,
but it's not happening.
I think it's going to happen
next time. But it is unfortunate about TD Roof. Yes, on topic. You and I thought he would be a contributor with the linebacking group, and it sounds like just the guys that are there are extremely talented, and he may have not been able to crack that lineup. But now with his injury, it is unfortunate. I would assume that he'll be is like a medical waiver so he can finish school, and then I don't know. We always kind of guessed that he was coming to Oklahoma to try to get some sort of GA role post graduation. Kind of speeds that process up. Now he can kind of take that role as a player, if that is what's happening. And if it's not, maybe he should think about it. I think it'd be a pretty cool opportunity to be part of this staff, even as a GA.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sucks ass. Like, that's the one thing you don't want to have happen in fall camp or seeing things like that. And unfortunately it did. Tough break for him. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Hose. Hopefully it just accelerates a career of coaching for him, starting with the GA position at Oklahoma and kind of learning from his dad and Venables and that whole staff, kind of take the Jeremiah Cradell route. So yeah, I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is.
And the thing is, what's crazy is he played his first year at Georgia Tech in 2017. And so he's been on a roster for the past 5 years. This is his 6th year. He could get a medical red shirt potentially, and then still come back for the 2023 season. And he could be like a 7-year college football player, which is
college forever.
Yeah, he's doing it right. Almost unheard of for someone to be in college for 7 years. I don't know if that's ever even happened. I'm sure someone has, but it. Yeah,
doctors and shit go to college for like 100 years.
Well,
yeah, I've heard of someone doing undergrad for 7 years too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We know some people that might have been pushing that 7-year mark. So that seems to be the big loss for Oklahoma. Granted, a contributor, but not a star or a starter. But nevertheless, it's unfortunate, and hopefully he has a good and fast recovery. So moving on to talk a little bit of Texas. I think obviously Texas has a lot of hype per usual. Granted, they're not in the top 25, I don't believe. They ended up losing 2 potential starters. They lost an offensive lineman, Junior Ngallo, and then Isaiah Nayor is a wide receiver who transferred in. They also had a running back, Roshan Johnson, suffer an ankle sprain. So they lost Nayor and Ngallo, I'm not sure, to both to serious knee injuries. And it could be season ending for both of them. Texas along the offensive line, it seems like they're now going to have to start 1 or 2 freshmen. And I think that's going to play in the favor of Oklahoma when they do play. As much as I don't hope for injuries or wish injuries on anyone, but just, it is what it is at this point. They also, Aji Hall, I remember we talked about him a few months ago whenever he entered into the transfer portal and it seemed like Oklahoma was a potential landing spot. And Venables basically kind of, from what it looked like, kind of said, no thanks, but no thanks. The culture, it's not really what we're looking for. And he got arrested for taking a parking boot off his car. You can say what you want about the parking police, but shouldn't be doing that. And so it seems like Texas is having a lot of, they're not having a great run of this right now. What do you guys think?
If that parking violation was on campus, then I bet he was probably in the right, because parking police on campus are freaking dickheads. I remember my last semester, I was turning in something literally the day before graduation, and I walked across the street and back. It took me less than 5 minutes. I was walking up to my car and I was getting a parking ticket, and I walked up to the parking lady and I said, "This is my car. I'm about to leave." And she was like, "All right." She finished writing the ticket, handed it right to me, and went about her day. So I bet Aji Hall wasn't completely in the wrong here.
No, I agree. I think parking police, especially on college campuses, at least from our experience, as Jose just alluded to, they're just like, I hope none of you, our viewers, are parking police, because I'm about to just take a huge little dump on this profession, this career thing. I feel as if they kind of just hate their lives, like just because like that is just a great example too. And like you especially like at OU, that's all we know. Like you can park at campus corner and then walk to class if you wanted to or whatever, and pay for whatever. I swear to God, they just walk by and wait for the second it expires to do exactly that. Like they just are like, "Oh, this one expires at 12:16 p.m. So like, and they just sit there. They'll look at their watch and be like, "Oh, it's 12:15:54," and they'll just wait for that clock to hit 12:16 so they can immediately throw a thing on there. Really sucks. I didn't enjoy. I received my fair share of parking tickets at Oklahoma, just being 12 minutes late. It is what it is. I kind of think Aggie Hall or whatever Hall that he got. He took matters into his own hand. He said, "My car, I can't drive it. I got to take this damn boot off. Then I can go." So I kind of respect it. Sucks he went to jail. I'm pro Hall in this situation. Get that boot off your car. You can't drive with it. Like you simply can't. So like, what was he supposed to do? And
Shout out to the parking police that give you a little bit of a grace period before you
yes, that's true too.
Because
yes.
I did have those experiences where I walked up and she was like, "All right, cool."
And again, if you're a parking police person, I do feel I'm sorry. I should not have generalized the entire the entire profession. Yes.
But there are some of those out there.
There are definitely some out there who are literally, they count down the seconds so they can ticket you. And it's just like, are you fucking, like, come on, bud. Like, no, that's ridiculous. No one does that anywhere. The injury front, that for Texas, injuries suck. I wish you could turn injuries off like you can in video games, but unfortunately that's not the way of the real world. So that sucks, but it is what it is.
And then part of it is, so they lost, Hall is on an indefinite suspension. Obviously, I'm sure he came in under some specific circumstances and understandings whenever they took him as a transfer. And then they lose another wide receiver, Nayor, potentially for the season. So you lose maybe both these guys for the whole year. And then your offensive line is already going to be pretty young now because you're losing to injuries there. Quinn Ewers and the quarterback situation. It seems like it's kind of in disarray right now, and a lot of things are it might just be another 4-8, 5-7 season. And And I said, a couple of videos ago, I said I thought they were going to be in the Big 12 championship, but the way that they're going right
I
now,
was about to say you're changing course here quickly, but
no,
you were drinking that Kool-Aid hard, and now you're putting the Kool-Aid down.
I still think they could. I'm just saying that all of a sudden it seems like the wheels are falling off before they even play a football
game. Are you
game.
sticking with the prediction of them at 2 in the Big 12?
Right now, yes. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll move on. Another fellow Big 12 team that we're going to talk about, Mike Gundy. He had a few things to say today about Oklahoma and Texas. Basically saying Oklahoma and Texas took the money and ran. This is his quote. Let's cut to the chase. They made a choice to financially secure their athletic departments for the next 12 to 15 years. People can talk about all the reasons, but that's why they did it, all for the money, and took a lot of history out of this league and a lot of history out of college football with them. End of quote. So, here's the deal. I mean, I get it. They're upset about it that they got left out, because at the end of the day, if they were invited to go to the SEC, they would have hopped right on and came with Oklahoma and Texas. So that it's not like that we're some horrible people or the school's horrible because they would have done the same. And at the end of the day, if the history doesn't have to leave, OU wants to play Bedlam every year. They want to play whether it's the first, second, or third game or a late November game. It seems like the SEC sometimes will sprinkle in the late November games. If you're not scared and you want to keep the history, Oklahoma wants to keep the history. How about you play? It'll sell a lot of tickets for you still. It'll help you with your TV ad revenue. Just play Oklahoma. I mean, and they want to play. And then if your school is saying, well, they just ran and they left us, but we don't want to play them and we're mad at them, that like it's a punishment that Oklahoma doesn't get to play Oklahoma State, I think that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, Mike is a big dumb dipshit. I don't understand why he's so frustrated about it. Yes, is there going to be an immediate impact with Bedlam? Probably. I wouldn't expect it to be immediately scheduled as soon as Oklahoma enters the SEC. It might take a few years to get that back on the yearly schedule, but it should still happen. Like you said, Oklahoma isn't opposed to making it happen. Eventually, Oklahoma is going to have to rework all of those future SEC home and home situations that we already had scheduled to get a replacement. Why can't Oklahoma State be it? Could be in, like you said, early in the year. Could be later on. It could be Oklahoma's cupcake game in the SEC, like later on in the year. It's always possible. I don't know if you would want to be Oklahoma's homecoming, but it's possible. It's a possibility out there. Also, if you're Mike Gundy, why aren't you excited that Oklahoma is leaving? You finally get an opportunity to potentially be the top dog in the Big 12. You're not going to get your ass kicked almost every single year by Oklahoma, and your program might be able to move forward. Like, this is an opportunity for everyone in the Big 12. And I think it's crazy, or not crazy. I think it's actually really cool that next year, the 4 replacement teams are coming in, or the expansion teams are coming in to the Big 12. Because now if Oklahoma State and Baylor or even Kansas State can't take the next step as like the old teams or the last regime of the Big 12, if they can't take the step to be the head of the table to replace Oklahoma, then they're fucking up. Because if Cincinnati comes in, if Houston comes in, if BYU comes in and starts competing against them, then it just shows that just because you're in the group of 5 doesn't mean you can't compete against a Power 5 school. And it also makes it look worse for the Big 12, because Oklahoma and Texas were the only reason that they were making any sort of money. And now they're just mad that Oklahoma can't get them a bag every year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hose is pretty much right. Like, everybody leaves for better opportunities. Like, if you're at your place of work and you get a better opportunity, you usually leave. I mean, there are instances in which people are dedicated and, loyal, maybe because they like their job so much or they like the people, or, there are instances in which people will stay and turn down a better opportunity money-wise or whatever. I think Mike Gundy's mad that his team no one gives a shit about, so they're not going to get an invite to this premier conference to make money. I mean, it was the best decision for Oklahoma and Texas, and he's mad that he's probably mad his team wasn't invited. And as Jose alluded to, he should be happy because the dude is 2-14 or whatever the hell his record is, 3-14 since he's been there. So he's fake mad about them leaving because deep down the dude's actually like, thank God I don't have to catch this almost guaranteed loss every single season now. Like that will eventually fade and he doesn't have to worry about that. And yeah, again, like Alabama and everybody, they play, Chattanooga State or Rice or,
Citadel.
Northeastern Western town, the Citadel. They play all those schools week 9 or so, and we can just schedule Oklahoma State as our mid-major for week 9 or whatever, week 10 and whatever it is.
Our mid-major. Yeah. So a couple thoughts on that. I think Houston's the school that I think is going to come in and ruffle a lot of feathers with the Big 12 because you've already got Holgerson, who's coached in the Big 12. And then Houston has a lot of money, a lot of talent in the surrounding areas. And that's why Houston's been left out of the Big 12 for a while because Texas didn't want to compete against them. Now Texas will have the leg up, being the SEC. Another thing that you mentioned about rescheduling SEC opponents. If you're Joe Castiglione, how about you pick up the phone, not only call Oklahoma State, but pick up the phone and schedule USC? Could you imagine setting a home and home with USC in the next few years? That would be awesome. I mean, you want to talk about selling tickets and TV revenue and everything else. An out of conference game against USC, a home and home in the next maybe 2-3 years. I think that would be awesome. I would love to see that just because USC fans think they got the better end of the deal. Oklahoma fans know they got the better end of the deal. It would just be fun to see what it would be like and to actually play. But so we'll move on. Today, Rivals updated their rankings for prospects, and one guy that got a huge bump and really not a surprise. There's the way he's been just skyrocketing over the last year is PJ Adebawore is now a composite 5-star on 247 Sports. PJ went from unranked to a 5-star, the number 35 overall player, number 6 edge player, and the number 1 player in the state of Missouri. In the matter of, 16, 18 months, he went from a nobody to now one of the best players in all of high school football. And he's committed to Oklahoma. I think Rivals had him. They jumped him from 116 all the way up to number 52 overall. And with that adjustment, Oklahoma now moves above LSU back into the number 6 ranking overall on 247 Sports, setting up Oklahoma to now have 2 5-stars. Which we've talked about in previous episodes, like how many 5-stars do we think Oklahoma can get? I think the consensus between us 3 was 5 5-stars, because at the time, or not 5, 3 5-stars. Sorry about that. 3 5-stars, not 5. I wish. Jackson Arnold hadn't had his 5th star yet. We thought PJ Adebawore might be that guy, and could they add a DJ Hicks? And so that's 3 5-stars. So far, now Oklahoma has 2. Now they only have to land DJ Hicks, or maybe a potential another 5-star who gets that bump, maybe Jaquez Petaway. He's kind of on the edge, but like Thune says, it's tough to get that bump. Do you guys have any thoughts on PJ getting his 5th star?
I mean, big congrats to him, right? He's doing the work and he's getting recognized for it. Another potential 5-star, I think he's a composite 5-star, is Peyton Bowen. I know he's a 5-star in a couple of places. On 3 boasts about him being a 5-star all the time. But I mean, I still think it's a stretch, but if he flips Oklahoma, that would be an added 5-star. I mean, overall, I think this is the stuff that is separating the Venables to Riley and how they recruit. It seems like, at least on the defensive side of the ball, they're willing to do the extra work and not just look at the star rating or look at the hype behind a specific player. Because like you said, PJ went from being unknown to being one of the best players in the country at the high school level. I don't know if Lincoln Riley would have found that, or Grinch would have found that. I guess it would have been on his plate, but Venables and Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis did the digging. They found a diamond in the rough, and now they get to add that added, I guess, I don't know, metal to their trophy cabinet and say, like, not only did we find this guy that no one really knew about for a while, but he's going to be part of our team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, PJ Adebayo he's that dude. I think I've said it on a video a couple of times before, whatever. But like, if we are able to land David Hicks, and as you mentioned, that's 3 5-stars in the class, but it's 2 on the defensive line, to pair with Colton Vasek, to pair with Derek LeBlanc, to pair with a potential Jordan Nod, which is looking pretty good at this moment in time. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think it's the best defensive line class in the 2023 class, without having looked at other people's classes. And Texas A&M kind of had that 2022 defensive line class that's pretty fucking good, and I think Oklahoma is doing that in 2023, and I think Oklahoma will do that in 2024, and I think Oklahoma will do that in 2025. I don't think it changes as long as Venables and Bates are there. So it's really cool, obviously, to get another 5th star. 2 top 50 players now in the class. DJ Hicks will be 3 top 50 and our only top 10, but I mean, yeah, it's hard not to get excited about it. Good job on Bates and Venables to get that guy in, because he's going to be that dude.
Yeah, and Jose, I'm glad you brought up about Peyton Bowen and then Brandon mentioning Jordan Renaud, because I was curious, but you're right. Peyton Bowen is now a composite 5-star. He's the number 36 overall, I believe. I believe it's 36. And then PJ is number 35. So now he's a composite 5-star. On Rivals, he jumped from number 93 to number 46 overall. And you also mentioned Jordan Renaud. Renaud was the number 8 defensive lineman in the class. Now he's the number 7. He's the number 69th player. He's still a 4-star. And he
stay right there, babe.
Yeah, this is a perfect spot for him. He went from 173 to 115 overall on Rivals as well. So now you're right. Could there be 4 5-stars in this class, Jose? That's actually a really good point. There very well could be. It might be a stretch, but there is a chance. And I can't remember the thinking of a time in recent memory that OU could have 3 5-star defensive players in a single class.
Mueller never had a top 5 class in his tenure.
You're right. I mean,
not one time.
No, and this was 6, I believe.
Yeah, 6. I think that was when Spencer Rattler came in. That class. But so now you could add Jordan Renaud, who's a fringe 5-star as well. He puts together a pretty good year. He very well could be, because Rivals had him rated at one point number 15 overall. If he makes that next jump after the senior season, he could be a 5-star as well. So OU is in a great spot, probably ending up with 2 or 3, potentially 3 or 4. Could there be 5 if another guy jumps in from that 4-star to 5-star? Potentially. So it's looking like, getting these bumps, that's a good way for OU to get into that number 1 or number 2 or number 3 recruiting class, getting these kids to be rated higher. And then you also need the guys like Phil Picciotti making the jump, or Heath Ozaita and Joshua Bates making these jumps to help the lower end rated part of this class even higher, which I think a few of these guys, Picciotti is definitely one of those guys that should make a big jump after a year at the IMG Academy. All right, so the last part that we're going to talk about in this podcast today is the AP Top 25. So I'm not going to go through and name all of the top 25. I'll just name the top 10. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, A&M, Utah, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Baylor rounds out the top 10. Overall, my biggest takeaway is seeing looking at the top 25, Texas is not there. Obviously, there's a lot of hype behind Texas. I think that they're going to have a pretty good year. They should be able to put it together, but they might not. It seems like the media is finally tired of believing the Texas hype, and then this is their way of basically kind of putting them out of the limelight. I figure that they might put them in the top 25. So they have that matchup of Alabama and Texas in week 2 of 2 ranked opponents. But other than that, I think USC, as much as we don't like to talk about Southern Cal, they went from a 4-8 team to now being number 14. And I think that's probably a fair rating. I think they're probably a top 15 team in the country.
I think they probably suck.
Well, yeah, but I think they're pretty solid. But Utah Utah at number 7, I feel like is really fair. Texas A&M, I feel like is extremely overhyped at number 6. 8-4
Michigan,
last
I
year.
think.
Yeah, Michigan for sure.
Michigan
In
had
Notre
a good
Dame
year, but I just think Michigan sucks. I don't know. I'm not a Michigan guy or Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame sucks too.
I think Notre Dame and Texas A&M being at 5 and 6 is ridiculous. I think Utah is better than both of them. What do you guys think?
I think the most egregious one is A&M. They weren't great last year. It's not like they finished the season, great. And it doesn't make sense why they're number 6. The only reason I could see it being that they're that high in the rankings is because people believe that this 2022 class is going to absolutely transform the team into something that they haven't been. I agree with Utah. I think that's a good placement. I mean, Michigan, they won the Big Ten last year. They were in the playoffs. It's probably well deserved at this point. I think it's questionable still because they did lose their offensive coordinator to Miami. I think Miami could be a little higher. If anything, I actually think Miami and USC should flip positions. I think Miami is a little bit more stable. Cristobal brought in a lot of his guys. He brought in Gaddis, who just won the award for best assistant coach or coordinator. I can't remember exactly what the award is for, but he won an award for being one of the top assistant in the country last year. And their team doesn't stink. The ACC is still pretty open. Clemson didn't look amazing. Clemson has to step up and look like the Clemson that we've known over the last decade. But Miami can come in and ruin that for them, especially if Clemson is number 4 right now. I don't understand why Miami isn't higher. If you're just looking at like head-to-head matchups, if Miami somehow beats Clemson, they should jump up really, really high, assuming their record's pretty good. But if USC beats a 7 Utah, they shouldn't jump. Their jump should happen, just not as much. Just looking at the rankings, right? Texas not being part of the top 25, I think, is an indication of the media being tired of hyping them up every year, even though they still are hyped to this going into the season. But also USC stealing their thunder. I think at this point USC is still a little bit overranked. I understand that they brought in Lincoln Riley, and he's a good offensive coordinator. Caleb Williams, who's a special quarterback, but outside of that, they still have a suspect defensive coordinator that hasn't really shown that he can put out a top defense on the field. And Lincoln Riley hasn't proven that he can win a big game, right? I understand that people have questions about every place with a new coach, but it seems like USC is somehow, they get a lot of criticism, which that's fair, but they're also getting so much praise that that the media is accepting it in some way and not looking at the holes that team still has. Again, they might be good, but they're in the Pac-12 that's soft. I think that they're going to win maybe 9 games at the most. And if they can somehow somehow beat like a Utah, which seems like a far stretch right now, get 10. But I mean, there's some questionable decisions here. And it's like I said, whenever we were talking about our projections on the top 25, I think some of it will be to get some talk out of it. And obviously it wasn't aimed at Oklahoma, but Texas not being in the top 25, I'm sure that there's Texas message boards and fans just absolutely irate about the fact that they're not at least in the top 25, and probably pissed that they're not in the top 15 after all the hype they've been getting.
Yeah, I mean, I like the top 3. I think those are the top 3 teams in college football, unfortunately. I would change Georgia to 1 because, I mean, at the end of the day, they are the defending champions until somebody beats them. I don't understand how they wouldn't be ranked 1. Jose mentioned Miami as a team that's should be pretty good this year, and I agree with that. And then they probably climb into the top 10 with a good season again if they beat Clemson or whatever. I think another ACC team is North Carolina State that I think is ranked 13 or something. That should be pretty good this year. And they can also probably crack the top 10. I like that Oklahoma and Baylor in the top 10. I think Baylor's a better football team than Texas A&M and Michigan. Probably even Utah. I don't know. I think Baylor's pretty good. I might flip them with Michigan or Utah or even A&M. I might put Baylor as high as 6. something that I think is pretty funny is, do you guys see that Nebraska received 1 vote for the top 25? That's ridiculous. They really are the best 3-9 team of all time. Somebody voted them as a team that should have been ranked in the top 25, which, I mean, I don't understand how or why, but some of the stuff just doesn't make sense. But I mean, yeah, I kind of like the top 3. I would switch Georgia to number 1, and I would kind of put Baylor almost as high as 6. I think they're better than that 10 ranking, because I definitely think they're better than Michigan. I think they're better than Texas A&M, and I think they're even better than Utah. So I would probably move Baylor up a little bit, let's just swap them with A&M, and then, that kind of works for me.
Yeah, I would push back that, while I understand that Georgia's the defending champ, but they lost basically their entire defense. That front 7 got drafted. What do they have, like 7 first round picks or something like that, or 6 or something. So they lost a ton on defense. So they're extremely talented and deep. And I'm not saying that they're not one of the best teams. I agree with 1, 2, and 3 of Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. I do like Clemson at 4. 5, I would put Utah. I think Utah is an extremely good team, and they'll be able to win a lot of close games. I do think that Michigan is good, and I would probably put them at 6. I think OU would fall at 7, which I think is solid. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Starting at 7 or 9, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. As far as 8 goes, I could see NC State getting up there, but part of me still thinks that I would put Notre Dame, just because Freeman is a good coach. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of hype coming in. I don't really know what to expect with Notre Dame. I think they'll be solid, so I'll put them at 8. At 9, I probably would put Oregon, with Bo Nix coming in and bringing some stability. I know he's not the best, but Oregon's a talented team. And someone that's a wild card, and probably no one has them in their top 10, and I'm going to put them at number 10. I think Arkansas is a top 10 team. I think Arkansas, with Sam Pittman, they had another year. It's crazy. I understand KJ Jefferson. That team was playing extremely well last year, and they kind of ran into some injuries with Jefferson. They kind of, fell down a little bit. But I think Pittman is building something with Arkansas, and I think Arkansas is going to go on a run this year. Not that they're going to win a national championship, which I don't think will happen. But Arkansas at 19, I can't tell you the last time that they've been this hype in a preseason ranking. I know they weren't ranked last year. They kind of came out of nowhere. I think Pittman's got them rolling. I'd probably put Baylor at 11, just because losing the back, how many people they lost, like 4 starting defensive backs. That's hard to replace. And they also are putting all their eggs in one basket in a quarterback that played a couple games. And I just don't know. It's tough to say. Is the sample size big enough? I don't know. I personally am erring on the side of a little more caution and being conservative. I think Oklahoma State at 12 is fair. I think Oklahoma State's going to hang around that 15 mark all year long. I think they're going to lose 2 or 3 games, and they'll put together a 10-2, 9-3 type season. So I just don't buy into the Notre Dame, Texas A&M hype. I know I put Notre Dame at 8, but I just definitely don't buy into Texas A&M. And I think USC will finish top 25. I think they're going to get bullied by Utah, and then they might lose to Oregon. Do they play Oregon this year? I can't remember, but I think USC will hang around 15 pretty much all year. They might crack the top 10, then lose a game and get sent back down. So overall, I mean, I don't think it's just typical with Texas A&M being up there. I mean, number 1 recruiting class, I understand, but you normally don't see that really for the first maybe 2 or 3 years after, where you really see what you got, not the next season.
A team that should feel slightly disrespected here, specifically a coach, is Luke Fickell in Cincinnati. They went to the playoffs last year and are now at number 23 going in the preseason AP poll. I understand that they also lost a ton. Both their starting corners and Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant. They lost their starting quarterback, who'd been there forever, and Desmond Ridder. But Luke Fickell was able to put together a really good run with those guys. He had a couple seasons where one last year he had an argument and he made it to the playoffs. The season before that, I believe he they had an argument to make it to the playoffs. They didn't. And they played a good game against Georgia in their New Year's Six Bowl. I don't think they got ran by Alabama, but like they played a pretty good game against them. Even still, like they don't suck. And I think it's the fact that they're currently in a group of 5 conference that is putting them in that position. Because I bet next year, once they're in the Big 12, they're going to be disrespected still because people are going to be like, you can't compete with the big dogs in a Power 5 conference. But Cincinnati's proven they can compete against the Power 5. And I think people need to put a little bit more respect on Luke Pickle's name because that dude is putting together a good program in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Those is a big Cincinnati guy.
I fucking
You always
love
have been.
that guy because
He does
I think
love Cincinnati.
that's why college football is awesome. You can there are Cinderella story situations just like college basketball. And I understand it's a little harder in football because at the end of the day, a school like Alabama just out talents a school like Cincinnati. But there are those situations where anyone can win. And Cincinnati's proven that they can do it. And people still don't think they can.
Cincinnati did play Alabama tougher than Michigan played Georgia. That's just a fact. But Georgia was the best team in college football last year. So,
Yeah. Another team that I don't believe should be in the top 25, and it's kind of unfortunate why they shouldn't be, is Wake Forest at 22. They lost Sam Hartman. It's for an extended period of time because of some medical condition. I don't really know what. And I don't know when these votes are cast. But he's out for a long time. It sounds like it's not great for whatever's going on with him. And without him, I don't feel like Wake Forest is a top 25 team. Maybe they already cast these votes a while ago because it just, to me, unless something has changed, it just, from what I've read, he's out indefinitely. So to me, I don't feel like Wake Forest is a top 25 team. And I think, obviously things will change very quickly with 1 or 2 losses after the first week or two. Also, did you guys see Kentucky, Stoops and Coach Cal go back and forth about how Coach Cal said that this is a basketball school and we want a new facility built. And then Stoops said, no, it's not. And this is a football school, and they kind of have some beef now with it. I think it's pretty funny.
At this point, I think they're kind of just a good sports school. Mark Stoops has built that program to be pretty decent. I wouldn't say a powerhouse quite yet, but they're not a laughing stock anymore in football. And Coach Cal hasn't won shit in so long. I don't know why he's talking about it being a basketball school at this point. How about you get out of the first round, bud?
Yeah. I mean, it's a testament to what Stoops is doing out there. They're number 20. If you would have said 10 years, 15 years ago, no, if you would have said Kentucky's a basketball school, which I kind of think it is, but you shouldn't say that out loud if you're the head coach of the basketball program. But now there's actually an argument. I think it's just a testament of how good Stoops is doing and turning that around. It's really hard to compete in the SEC, go from one of the worst teams all the way up to one of the better teams. So,
yeah. And they have a quarterback that people are hyping up going into the season.
Yeah, for sure. So at the end of the day, a quarterback can carry you pretty far. And in Pittsburgh as well, I'm not sure why Pitt is number 17 after losing Kenny Pickett, unless there's something I am totally missing.
And Jordan Addison.
And Jordan Addison. So I don't know why Pitt's there either. That makes no sense to me.
I also think Tennessee should have cracked the top 25. I think they had a pretty good year last year, and I'm buying into the Josh Heupel as a head coach. I think he's doing a pretty damn good job over there with Rocky Top. And I think you could definitely swap Tennessee and like Wake Forest, as you mentioned.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if they played tomorrow, I think all of us would pick Tennessee. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of my big takeaways. Mel Tucker at Michigan State, I think 15's fair. I think he's putting together a very good program, and they're going to compete for the Big Ten. Not necessarily maybe win it. Ohio State's looking pretty strong, but they're going to contend, and they're going to win a lot of games. So do you guys have any final thoughts on the top 25 or anything else? No. All right. So I know you guys have been crafting the end of video challenge. I'm not sure who's going to be saying this end of video challenge. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yeah. So Hose was talking about his mustache earlier and how it's in the way or something. And I said, it's always in the way. It's like, it's there. It's what it does. And then I asked him if we got 1,000 viewers in the next live stream or any live stream, will he shave the beard? He agreed to those terms. So then I asked him, if we get 100 people to comment, shave your beard, hose, or something along those lines, would you do it? He said no. So what about 200?
No, we're on the next live stream. Let's get to 1,000 viewers, and I'll shave it.
Either way, 1,000 live streams, hose shaves his beard, but otherwise, just still comment, hose shave your beard. Let's just see how many we can get. Let's try to rack those up. Maybe we'll put the peer pressure on. He actually won't grow back. He'll be fine. I just want it'll be a different look. It'll be. I feel like we haven't seen Hose beardless in so long. It might be fun.
I haven't seen Hose beardless in so long.
So everybody comment Hose to shave his beard. Peer pressure the shit out of him. Peer pressure is real. So just drop those comments.
Yeah, I was going to say peer pressure is a magical thing. It can be good and it can be bad at the same time. So I would like to see Jose shave it. Maybe a fresh shave before the football season starts for good luck, and then you don't shave for the rest of the year. Every time that they win
on the live stream for the 22nd,
but still drop the comments. I feel like if we get enough comments, the peer pressure might hit. We'll see.
Let's just bully him into it.
Him into it. Exactly.
No,
definitely. So made it this far. Hit the like button. Turn the notification bell on, subscribe to the channel. We're 100 subscribers away from 5,000. That's a huge mark. Never thought we'd actually hit that. It's kind of ridiculous that we're even that close that quickly, but we really appreciate you guys. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review. Follow the channel on there. Find us on social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Everything's linked below. And be sure to join our membership for $4.99 a month. The benefits are listed if you'd like to support the channel. And we will be back on Friday. We appreciate it.